Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla News, episode 170. Tesla broke ground on their lithium refinery factory, and Q2 is shaping up to become another great growth story for Tesla. And we have more earnings report coming from the legacy automakers and it's not looking all good. And Twitter made another big step of becoming the place where we find the truth. And the clown show of hydrogen continues. And former Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, got some jabs from the Electric Vehicle Council of Australia.
Hey Scotty, I thought you said these EVs were going to ruin the weekend.
And Tesla is closing in on the autonomous future we are all waiting for. All of this and much more on today's episode. Let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
Tesla broke ground on their lithium refinery factory this Monday. When complete, the $375 million facility will refine battery-grade lithium hydroxide and be the first facility of its kind in North America. So no, not another battery manufacturer, but Tesla themselves will be the first in North America to refine battery-grade lithium like this at this scale. But Tesla is just a car company, and Tesla should just stick to making cars. No, once again, Tesla shows they are not just copying other lithium refineries, they have made a lot of new innovations to the lithium factory and processes. So the Tesla factory will be one of the biggest lithium refinery in the world and the cleanest and most efficient. Well, of course. And also just fun to see they did the whole breaking ground ceremony, of course, with what I can only describe as cyber shovels, but in the background we could already see they are already at it with earth-moving equipment, and Tesla expects to have this factory done by next year, and a year after that, by 2025, have it up running at full capacity, which will be enough lithium for about 1 million electric cars. And as Elon pointed out, that is very quick compared to normal standards.
And as you can see, we've got the earth-moving equipment already here, so we're going to begin construction immediately. We're aiming to finish construction next year and then reach hopefully full production about a year later. This is extremely fast by normal standards. But that's how we do things.
But that is how Tesla does things. But the factory was also made to be able to scale up even more if needed, and I think they will do that. And they will be feed flexible, so they will be able to use many different kind of feedstocks. So not just lithium ore from clay, but also from end-of-life used recycled batteries and much more. But Tesla has also cut a lot of steps out of the whole process to simplify it. And they are also using the waste product from the refinery. The byproduct is a mixture of sand and calcium carbonate, a viable product in the production of construction materials, allowing Tesla to make use of this waste stream as well. So this will be one of the cleanest lithium refineries in the world, and it also uses 20% less energy all in as other lithium refineries, and the production cost is about 30% less than a typical lithium refinery, as Tesla has about 30% fewer processes step in the production as a typical lithium refinery. All very, very impressive. And remember, this is something Tesla didn't want to do. As Elon said before, if you want to print money, start a lithium refinery. But no one really took him up on that, and not at the scale that Tesla needed. So Tesla still sees lithium refinery as the biggest bottleneck in the shift to EVs, and Tesla will always address the biggest bottleneck no matter what it is. And now they are going to make lithium for their own batteries, getting their cost way down on those batteries, as this is some of the most expensive parts in the batteries. And I guess in about a year's time, Tesla will be starting to print money. We have already talked about the lithium surplus and price cut, but have you picked up on the wider theme yet? Over the next few years, external factors will affect the public sectors more than ever before. This means that if you can't access the exclusive private asset, it's going to be a long couple of years. Goldman Sachs surveyed money manager for some of the richest American families just to see how they'll be handling the next 12 months. 90% of the respondents represented families worth of $500 million or more. One of the trends they noted is a continuing focus on diversifying and safe havens. They continue, another interest includes collectibles with great allocation to art. I have been telling you about this for about 2 years now. The private market ain't as private anymore. Masterworks, the sponsor of this video, allows you to invest in fractional shares of $1 million artwork. Their team of art nerds crossed decades worth of auction data to bring you a curated selection of art investment opportunities. Not only are they giving you unprecedented access to one of the most exclusive asset class on the market, they took out all the legwork. Deloitte estimates that the global value of art to grow to a whopping $1 trillion by 2026, which means there are much left out there for everyday investors like you and me. And you know how I know? Well, Masterworks' sales thus far has delivered only positive net returns for its investors. They sold over $45 million worth of artwork so far and distributed the net proceeds to its investors. Over 700,000 people have already signed up so far, and they are unveiling new offering on a regular basis to meet demand, so there is quite a wait. But my subscribers can skip the waiting list by using my link in the description. So if you want to diversify your portfolio while we wait for Teslas to skyrocket once more, Masterworks is a great opportunity to dive into. So click my link below to get started today. So I can't wait to see all the good headlines around the world about Tesla's sales numbers when Q2 comes to an end, because Q2 of last year was when Tesla's Shanghai factory was shut down, so Tesla will no doubt have some huge growth numbers to talk about this year. Because April was a record month, as I talked about before, both in Europe and China. April was the biggest first month of a quarter ever, so Q2 numbers should be quite good, and especially compared to year over year. And this is something I still hear a lot, because Tesla only grew 36% in Q1. I thought Tesla should grow 50%. Well, firstly, it is 50% compound annual growth rate from the 2020 numbers. As Tesla has explained many times, I don't know why this does not stick with people. Secondly, one quarter, especially the smallest quarter in a year, does not represent the whole year's compound annual growth rate. Like we saw last year, in Q2, Tesla only grew in production about 25% year over year because of the lockdown in Shanghai, and sales only grew 27%, but that did not mean that 2022 was going to be only 20% growth. No, 2022 ended up having 47% in production growth and 40% in deliveries, and I think Tesla right now might have a max capacity at their factories to do something like 541,000 units in Q2. With the known lockdowns of Shanghai for 4 days at the start of May because of the national holiday. But there will of course be some other small hiccups along the way we don't know about, but we have not heard about any shutdown or anything else like that just yet. So I think 5 to 6% down compared to their max capacity is not completely off the mark. So maybe about 509,000 in production and 5% in transit, so maybe about 483,000 units in deliveries. I was off by 2% in Q1 in deliveries, so if we take away my optimism and lower it by 2% and say, okay, it might only be 473,000 units in deliveries, if that should be the case, we are still looking about 85% in growth in deliveries year over year, or maybe more than 97% in growth in production. So if this should play out, we are looking at an average growth rate so far this year for the first 2 quarters about 60% in deliveries and about 70% in production. So that would be some pretty strong growth for this year so far. But 36%! But even if this is way too optimistic and Tesla only delivers about 460,000 units, that is still up 80% year over year in Q2, and an average growth so far this year with Q1 and Q2 about 58%. I would still be very happy with that, even though I might be off the target by 10 or 15,000 units. And I think we could see about 58% growth in deliveries in Q3 and maybe about 48% in Q4. And if so, Tesla would end this year off with more than 50% growth this year. And last quarter, Tesla produced 440,000 units. That was with the Shanghai lockdown of 8 days, but they also took some time to ramp up again, and they did produce about 229,000 units in Shanghai in Q1. So my guess is that the Shanghai factory's max capacity right now is about 245 units in Q2, or close to 20,000 units a week right now. And so far, we have not heard of any other lockdown or downtime other than the 4 days of holiday in May. Only heard about them running close to max capacity. So I guess Shanghai would produce close to that 245 units in Q2, and then of course take that down maybe 5%. Fremont should also be able to produce some more vehicles this quarter as the Model 3 long range is finally back. So I think that means that production line is up and running again and bringing some more units to be produced. So maybe about 152,000 units in Q2 from the Fremont factory. I have Berlin at 78,000 units, and I just raised the Texas numbers a bit because Giga Texas just got to the big milestone of 5,000 units produced in a week, and that was in week 18. So about 6 weeks before that, what I was expecting in my prediction tracker. So I had them at 60,000 units for Q2, but I have just raised it a bit to 65,000 units. And remember, all of these numbers are max capacity numbers, and then we take them down between 5 to 6% from the max capacity to get to the real production numbers, and down 5% again in transit to give us the deliveries numbers of 483,000 units in deliveries in Q2. So it might seem like a lot to be up with about 60,000 units from one quarter to the next quarter, but Shanghai's lockdown last quarter should be worth about 16,000 units compared to this lockdown this quarter, and the Berlin is ramping up fast and should be adding something like 30,000 units in production. So that is 46,000 units just between those two factories on their own. And then Texas should also be ramping up another 20,000 units compared to last quarter, and Fremont ramping up the Model 3 long range could also bring in a couple of thousand extras in production as well. So we could pretty easily get to above 70,000 units more in production in Q2 compared to Q1. So I don't think these growth numbers are completely off the chart, and we could see something like 509,000 units in production and maybe something like 480,000 units in deliveries. If they could pull that one off, I think that qualifies for some very good headlines about Tesla's growth and demand in Q2. But we will see what happens over the next couple of months. That could change my prediction, but let me know what you think down below. What are your guess? How many cars will Tesla produce and deliver in Q2? And do you remember that I have talked about Shell tearing down 3 hydrogen stations in the UK and a couple of ones in Germany as well? Well, now the clown show of hydrogen continues, as 2 of London's 3 hydrogen filling stations will close this month due to inefficient demand. Move by ITM joint venture Motive Fuels leaves it with only 2 hydrogen pumps in the UK, down from 8 last year, as the company refocus on refueling trucks instead of passenger cars. So yes, even the hydrogen station providers are closing down hydrogen stations for passenger cars and will only focus on trucks. This leaves only 1 hydrogen filling station in London, operated by Air products at the Hilton Hotel near Heathrow Airport, which was out of operation due to technical errors at the time of this article's publication. And according to hydrogen mobility website H2.live, only 5 in total throughout the UK is live. This is such a joke. I don't understand why someone like BMW still thinks this will ever be a thing. But even worse, why does the EU think this is going to be a thing? Unless oil companies and car companies like Toyota and BMW are lobbying for it, because EU nations have agreed to install hydrogen fuel cells in all major cities and every 200 kilometers along core routes. This is such a waste of our money, pouring billions of dollars into this to get all these hydrogen stations up just so we can tear them down again in 5 years' time, as we see most of the other hydrogen stations in Europe are doing. This will never become a sustainable solution. Remember, as I talked about in my video about this, the truth about hydrogen, hydrogen pretty much has to be made on site, and right now the hydrogen station can only fill up like 50 cars with hydrogen before it is empty. So if we ever get a lot of hydrogen cars on the road, the station will not be able to keep up. And according to the latest available figures, there were only 176 hydrogen fuel cell cars on the UK's road at the end of September 2022. That actually represents a fall from the high of 196 in 2020. So there are less hydrogen cars on the road in the UK than 3 years ago. This is so ridiculous. I mean, when do they just give up and say, okay, hydrogen could have been a good alternative to the ICE car, but has lost to the EV? Just like the minidisc was a great alternative to the CD, but it lost to the MP3 player. And we might have witnessed another big step of Twitter becoming the place where we find the truth. As Tucker Carlson, former host of Fox News, is bringing his shows to Twitter instead, because here he's allowed to tell the whole truth.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated. How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here, and we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets. You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years to Twitter. We'll be bringing some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others. See you soon.
And Elon replied to his tweet saying, on this platform, unlike the one-way street of broadcasting, people are able to interact, critique, and refute whatever he or anyone may say. And of course, anything misleading will get community notes. I still think this is much bigger than we might realize, and the beginning and a whole new wave of news broadcasters that is not held back by political agenda or by whoever is paying their bills through advertising. And Elon also replied to this tweet, "Bring back Twitter Stream. Launch Twitter Live, apps for Roku, Fire, Apple TV, etc. Become the greatest video platform in the universe." And Elon replied, "Coming." Yeah, and Elon Musk tweeted that he had hired a new CEO for X/Twitter, as he wrote, "Excited to announce that we have hired a new CEO for X/Twitter. She will be starting in 6 weeks. My role will transition to being executive chairman and CTO, overseeing product, software and synops. So I guess some of the people that think Elon can handle being CEO of so many companies, the Twitter hangover, will finally get a good night's sleep." Going to be very exciting to see the development of Twitter over the coming years and see how it will transform into X.com and will become something the world has never seen before and change the news media forever. And Tesla is closing in on the autonomous future we are all waiting for. Elon wrote on Twitter that once full self-driving is super smooth, not just safe, we will roll out a 3-month trial for all cars in North America, then extend to the rest of the world after we ensure it works well on local roads and regulators approve it in that country. This is quite a big thing because not many people know about Tesla's full self-driving beta's capabilities. So if Tesla can get about, 1 million Tesla owners to try it out, I think this will make the take rate of the software go up significantly. I think this is a great move from Tesla, and we also had the new release of Tesla's full self-driving beta version 11.4.1, and Elon replied to Hallmarks about it. As mentioned earlier, version 11.4.1 has major architectural improvements. It's actually much more than a point release, should arguably be version 12, but that is reserved for when full self-driving is fully AI from video in to control out. Oh boy, they are getting really close, in my opinion. And as you know, if you follow my channel, I always check the release notes to see if the improvements they are making are still big, to see if their neural network is still learning exponentially or are we seeing a local maximum. But just as Elon has said, they no longer see the local maximum. It just keeps learning more and faster without slowing down. As we can see in the release note, it has improvements that are 43% better or 40 to 50%, 20%, 40%, 36%, 44%, 27%, all of this in just a couple of months. And Tesla is able to do this because they have all that data, as we can also see in the release note, reducing highways false slowdown because they just added 68,000 videos to the training set. Yeah, I still think Tesla is getting really close, especially when we will get that version 12 with AI controls everything from video in to controls out. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this new show. Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts. Elon took Little X to Formula 1 driving event and talked with some of the guys there, as he wrote fun discussion of aero and battery technology in Formula 1. Jeff Bezos was also there at the event, but looked like he was much more just enjoying himself. And Starlink has now reached 1.5 million customers around the world. Very impressive. And we can see on this illustration that the adoption is taking off right now as the rocket that launched them. And the Electric Vehicle Council of Australia has paid an ad that includes various EVs, including Teslas. So free advertising for Tesla right there. And they said, "Our new ad is designed to showcase the many benefits of EVs, whether it is saving the planet, saving your money, or saving the weekend. EV does it all." Saving the weekend is a funny little jab at Scott Morrison, the former Prime Minister of Australia, that famously said electric vehicles would ruin your weekend.
It's not going to tow your trailer, it's not going to tow your boat, It's not going to get you out to your favourite camping spot with your family. Bill Shorten wants to end the weekend when it comes to his policy on electric vehicles.
And in the ad, the woman asking her boyfriend about it is of course also named Scotty.
Hey, Scotty, I thought you said these EVs were going to ruin the weekend.
Yes, if you have owned an EV for a while, you know how bad it feels getting back behind the wheel of an ICE car. It completely feels like driving a Nokia 3310. I know it can be wrapped in leather and gold stitches and diamonds as buttons. It is still just a Nokia 3310, no matter how luxurious it is. EVs are by far the superior choice in my opinion. Volkswagen dismissed all but one of their executive board members at its software division Carriot. The unit, set up under the former CEO Herbert Diess, has exceeded its budget and failed to meet goals, contributing to Diess' departure and replacement by Oliver Bloom last September. But Peter Bosch, production chief of Bentley, will become the new CEO of Volkswagen's software unit Carriot. I don't think getting a production chief in charge of a software company will help much. What does he know about software? Can Peter Bosch even write one line of code? I highly doubt it. They need to understand they need software people in charge of a software division, so they understand the fundamental of how this is done and what is needed, what they're doing and so on. Now they're just getting another suit with a big paycheck in charge. Can't see how this will change anything, but we will see if Carrie can turn around this disaster of a software story. And Teslas are already way out in front when it comes to safety, but Tesla is not resting on their laurels. Tesla confirmed that it is building a new crash test lab in Austin to further improve the passive safety of its electric vehicles. Nice. And Lucid set up a shop at a Tesla supercharger station in Los Angeles to offer Tesla owners test drive of their Lucid Air. For some reason, it seemed that it had angered some of the Tesla fans. Not sure if that's true, but that's what the mainstream media says. I don't understand why a Tesla owner would get angry about this. But anyway, yes, it is a weird strategy by Lucid, but only shows how desperate they are getting customers. And kind of funny, as Lucid CEO once said that they don't see Tesla as a competition, but the ICE cars. And I agree, but then why are you targeting Tesla owners? Makes no sense. You should set up a shop at a gas station to give test drive out to ICE owners instead, if they truly believe that ICE is the competition. And they might actually have got some to test drive their cars, because apparently nobody of the Tesla owners was interested. But I guess Lucid is getting kind of desperate and doesn't know what to do. And I understand why, as Lucid also released their earnings report, and just as Ford, they are losing about $700 million in Q1, but they are producing a lot less cars. So this means that Lucid actually lost about $550,000 per vehicle they sold. Ouch. So you might have one of the best electric vehicles on the planet, but if it cost you $650,000 to produce the damn thing, it really doesn't matter much. So this is a very bad trend. Lucid had increasing inventory and of course lost that $700 million, so not something Lucid can continue with much longer, as it even seems like they can't sell all the vehicles they are actually producing right now. But we will see if they can turn this around, but it looks like Lucid only has about 1 year left to stay alive with the cash they have on hand, so they need to raise more capital at some point if they don't turn this around soon. Elon did also reply to a tweet about this from Holmars saying, "Prototypes are easy, production is hard, achieving positive cash flow is excruciating." And another one that is struggling to get to profits is of course Rivian, that also released their earnings report, and they did lose about $1.35 billion in net loss in Q1. But that was still better than what was expected, so that's good. So they lost about $180,000 per vehicle they sell, so much better than Lucid, so that's good to see. And they still have about $12 billion left in cash on hand, so they should be good for another couple of years, losing money while they ramp up. And Rivian's trend are all pretty much going up, so that is nice to see. And they are still guiding for 50,000 units this year, so hopefully they are on track for that. So Rivian still has a long way to go, but seems like it is much better shape than Lucid, and hopefully will become profitable by the end of 2024, as they are guiding for. And almost a decade after Fisker Automotive went bankrupt in 2013 and was revamped as Fisker Incorporated in 2016, they finally delivered its first electric SUV, the Fisker Ocean. The owner received their model from Henrik Fisker himself at the recently opened Fisker Center Plus facility in Copenhagen, here in my country of Denmark. They were aiming for 42,000 units production this year. If they were able to do that, that would have been quite impressive and be a much quicker production ramp than most others like Rivian, Lucid, Ford and GM even on their EV models. But the day after the delivery event, Fisker announced delays in more deliveries because of problem integrating software into the vehicles. People familiar with the matter said, yes, software is hard and good software is extremely hard. So they have already cut production target this year down from the 42,000 to 32,000 to 36,000 units. But let's hope these software issues are smaller than what Volkswagen has been facing, because I think that will be too big for little Fisker to swallow. But congrats on finally getting the car to market. I did check it out myself at the Fully Charged live show this year, and it is a very nice looking EV. So good luck getting it off the ground. And Tesla made a little how it's starting and how it's going tweet this week, showing two pictures of their supercharger network. One with only 8 stations in America, and the picture of Europe, US, Asia and Australia, New Zealand with their more than 45,000 supercharger stalls. Quite impressive. But where are the competition's charging network? Volkswagen had their earnings report as well this week, and they sold a record of 2 million vehicles in Q1 and had revenue up by 21% compared to last year. So that was some good news from the group. But unfortunately, the success did not follow them down to the bottom line, as their net income was only 4.7 billion euros, still a lot of money, but that was down 30% year over year, so that was not so good. And meanwhile, many of the legacy automakers don't think the third world will transition to electric future anytime soon. Well, as usually, they are not really paying attention, and the Chinese are willing to do what the legacy automakers won't, as Yutong, a Chinese bus company, will provide 12,000 e-buses in Lagos, Nigeria, in cooperation with an energy company, Auto Clean Energy Limited, that will also install the necessary infrastructure to support them on Nigerian roads within the next 7 years. The first 2 pilot vehicles have been delivered. These buses will be assembled locally, and electric motorbike taxis in Africa is already a big thing. So many places around Africa, like this one in Rwanda, where they celebrated 50 million kilometers driven by its electric motorcycle fleet, just to mention one of many. So don't worry, Western legacy automakers, the Chinese will gladly take over in Africa and provide the necessary electric vehicles you won't. And Africa might be late to the party, but I do think it will take on like wildfire with the cheap, affordable EVs coming from China together with solar and storage. And Volvo teases a new, smaller EV on its way that will debut in June of this year. Nice. And I have reported on this many times that police departments all over the world are trying out EVs for their police cars. But the South Pasadena Police Department will now go all in on EVs and will do it with only Teslas. As they said, the South Pasadena Police Department will become the first such agency in the nation to convert its entire fleet to electric vehicles. And no wonder why, as another police department in Somerset calculated that it could save an impressive $80,000 in fuel and maintenance cost alone over a 10-year for each Model Y. So with the 20 Model Ys and 3s they are getting for their fleet, they will at least save $1.6 million over the next 10 years, making EVs the obvious choice and making Tesla the obvious choice because they are the most efficient and of course the safest cars on the planet. And before we end off with a bit of fun, I just want to give a huge shout out to all my patrons, members and executive producers and everybody else supporting the show. Thank you so much for all your support. I am doing this all by myself, but you guys are all the producers of this new show. Thank you. And a big and special thanks to Supporter of the Week, and this week's winner is Jeremy Oates. He has been a plaid patron of mine for about 1.5 years. So thank you so much, Jeremy, for all your support. Really, really appreciate your support, my friend. I will contact you on Patreon so you can get your Supporter of the Week winner t-shirt. And let's end off with a bit of fun. You don't know how you will react in a situation of emergency before you try it. But let's hope your reaction will be well received by your spouse. That is all we have time for in this new show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help this video out a lot. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. And don't forget, if you want to become an executive producer and get news articles every day, Monday to Friday, the new series Becoming News, where you get all the news 3 days before everybody else, access to all my research, charts and spreadsheets, and become part of my little exclusive club of executive producers, head over to bestintesla.com and join with the members button. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support, and if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel and get your shout out on this show. You can also become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out and some extra perks. Hit the members button to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I tweet all the news as it comes out and more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. Now it's also possible to support the show without buying anything, becoming a member or a patron. There is a link to donation options in the show notes. And also as simple as hitting the super like button. But going forward, I will be making more videos for patrons and members only. And I will give my YouTube members and patrons early access to my videos whenever possible and make my videos ads free for members and patrons only. So don't miss out. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.